Hello and welcome to the Cohasset Political Society Political Show. My name is Emmy Tierney, and today we're going to be talking about a local issue brought up by the Citizens for Cohasset's Future. Today I'm sitting here with two of the committee members. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves to the crowd?
Hi, I'm Lisey. Good.
I'm Maryanne Wetherald.
And you guys are on a committee. How many people are on this?
Well, we have many people that are involved in this, but in terms of our core membership of our grassroots committee, we're about 9.
Okay, and you guys, you're a grassroots organization. What's the issue that's at stake here?
Well, I think we got together as a community organization to try and change some of the zoning laws in Cohasset. I think that most of our zoning laws were crafted when Cohasset was a really different town. We haven't had major change to our zoning laws since the 1950s. So lots of things have happened in town. We got town sewer, we've got the commuter rail, property values have gone really high. The town has really changed and the zoning has not kept pace with that. So we feel like we need to do something now to help protect the Cohasset that we know and love.
Okay, and how do you plan on accomplishing this?
We have 3 bylaws that we're proposing at the town meeting on May 1st. One is scenic roads, the other one is land alteration and large home review process.
And for the lay people, how do you describe that in terms of like everyday language?
Well, I can start first with the scenic roads bylaw. Basically, this is something that more than 60 towns in Massachusetts have, but we don't. Neighbors like Norwell have had this since the 70s, and it's worked really well. What it does is it protects when there are big projects undertaken by municipalities or utility companies. When they're doing major things with the roads, at the end of that project, they have to put back and repair any of the historic stone walls that they've hurt, and they have to plant. If they've had to chop down mature trees, they have to replant trees. So it's basically putting things back the way it was, keeping the roads scenic and beautiful, and it means that it's done on the dime of the company doing the work, not the town.
Okay.
There are a number of roads in Cohasset that have been altered throughout the years, and Cohasset is such a beautiful community that we feel like it needs to be protected as it moves into the future. There's a lot of building happening, and it just has to be managed better and protected. And our bylaws are preparing for that time period so that these bylaws reflect the current time, the current community. And our bylaws were mostly written about 60 years ago in 1957, which is a long time ago.
Now this, obviously you guys have organized recently. Is there anything that prompted you to launch Citizens for Cohasset's Future?
Yeah, there's one particular lot in town that I think got a lot of us motivated. It was a beautiful wooded lot where neighbors would, walk by, enjoy the shade, enjoy the wildlife, see the birds, foxes. And in one day, the developer cut down every single tree on the property, everything that was green and alive on that property in one day, and then started blasting away the rock to make a nice level building site. And I think a lot of the neighbors got really upset and realized that because our laws are so lax, it's very easy for developers, outside developers, to come in and do this kind of thing to make it cheaper and more profitable for them. It's not, we've heard from some of the elected officials in town that they see if things have changed. That it used to be that when someone was building a house in Cohasset, it was somebody that was planning to live there, raise their family there, be part of the neighborhood and the community. That has changed, where the bulk of the projects happening now are developers, outside developers who are doing it for a profit. And so they're determining what our town is going to look like. They're doing what's best for them, which we understand, but sometimes what's best for a developer is not best for the town and the neighborhood and the neighbors.
I came to Citizens for Cohasset's Future in another direction. There was a large home in our community, our neighborhood, that replaced a very small house on a very small lot. And our neighbors were just very upset about it and rallied about it, and went to before the large home review, went before planning board and conservation, and while the home was reduced in size, we all left kind of voiceless. Like, we didn't have a voice. It just seemed like an empty process where we couldn't contribute to it.
Yeah. That's
yes.
one of the things we want. One of our second issue involves the large home review, and it's really about giving people a voice. You know, what Maryanne's talking about in that situation, in this town currently, if you have an issue, you find out about it, that someone's going to do something, and that's all. You find out about it.
It's an alert.
It's an alert.
Hello?
Guess
It
what?
happens.
This is what's going to happen next door to you or across the street from you. One of our proposals is actually giving the town more say in these kinds of things. It gives criteria that when someone's putting up a new project or building a new development, they have to think about things and before they start doing it. They have to think about, does it fit into the neighborhood? Is it scaled properly? What about stormwater runoff? Have you thought about privacy screening with the neighbors? Have you thought about lighting?
Yes.
They have to think about these things in advance, and it really means that the neighbors can have a voice and be heard, as opposed to just finding out about things and really not being able to do anything.
Now, let it be said, everyone can build their own house as they want, but when it's on a smaller lot, be considerate, and that's what we're recommending. Be considerate and just think about your site plan before you go through the board, and just look at these criteria that we're presenting and consider it, and then present. And as always, most projects go through. However, it's important to think about the criteria, this new adjusted, updated criteria.
Now, I mean, these seem like sensible regulations, but have you worked with the town at all on this, or anyone on the board of selectmen?
Yeah, that's a very good question as
Yeah,
well. It's been a long time, over 5 months.
We knew from the beginning that we wanted this to be an amicable process. We really wanted to work with the town. We didn't want to have some big fight. So we've been working, I mean, we've been to countless meetings with planning boards, zoning boards, conservation, the selectmen.
Yeah,
We've really done a ton of work, not to mention a ton of research into what other towns do. You know, there are a lot of towns that manage growth and manage building really smartly, and that's who we wanted to model this after. You know, we've looked as far as
Seattle.
Illinois, Seattle, Maine, Wellesley.
Maine,
Wellesley
yes.
here in Massachusetts is a town that has
Lexington,
motivated
Concord.
us and has managed, they've really tried to make smart rules that work well for the town, that work well for people who want to build, and work well for the people who are living in the town, and really manage everything well.
Okay. Well, have you ever looked at some of the regulations that Plymouth has in regards to land conservation, where that, you know, for every piece of land that you develop, you have to reserve a equivalent piece of land that's untouched?
We've looked at, I think, regulations all over the place, and some of what informed the legislation that we're proposing was the Cape Cod Commission recommendations that take into account things like that. I think the truth is we really want to be fairly moderate right now. We recognize that this is a change that we're proposing. We don't want to say, okay, everything's different now in Cohasset. So we've tried to make it sort of a good balance between property owners, what they want to do with their properties, developers, and people who actually live here.
We've been very careful to be very mindful of the community. We're not trying to fit an unusual bylaw into the town. We're really looking at all sections of town. There's RA, I believe.
There are different districts in town.
Yeah, different districts of town,
yeah.
and we've tried to. We've looked at all different districts and how can this be applied here, and what does this area look like? And the selectmen are very for us to do that. They've received, from what we understand, a lot of complaints about the building in town, and they want it managed as well.
Yeah.
And their concerns are our concerns, and we've been working very carefully to do that.
We've been interested too. You asked about how many of us, so there are 9 of us in the core group, but then we have additional volunteers that makes that group a lot larger. And then on top of that, I mean, we have a Facebook page, and we've had sometimes 500 comments on things that we posted. People really, really care about this. And we're hoping that they care enough to come to the May 1st meeting, because they have to be there to vote on these issues. We feel like this is so important, so crucial to do now. And also, if this doesn't happen now, there are very sort of complicated rules in town about how you can propose change to the bylaws and different legislation. If it doesn't happen now, we have to wait, I think, 2 more years before we can do something like this. So we feel like the time is now.
Isn't that incredible? 2 more years that we would have to wait?
Yeah.
So if we wanted to put land alteration bylaw going forward, or large home review, and it didn't work, or there were some challenges to it, imagine what would happen more to Cohasset
in 2 years.
This year. Right now we see a lot of ledge removal, a lot of large homes, and we see like our just general roads from utility companies kind of ripping it up. But Cohasset has been recognized for over 100 years in movies and books for its beautiful scenery as a destination. So we're not trying to keep this town in the 1950s whatsoever. We're trying to prepare it for the future and manage the growth of it.
Well, do you see this having a positive or negative effect on Cohasset's growth?
No.
I think this is about how we manage growth. I don't see that it's going to change. I think it's going to. Here's an example: the lot that we talked about, where they chopped down every tree, blasted all the ledge. If our rules had been in place, they still could have built a house on that lot. They just would have had to preserve some of the trees and some of the ledge. So we think it probably would have been a nicer, arguably nicer finished product, and they would have preserved the neighborhood. It would have felt more like Cohasset as opposed to, another town. I don't think, we're not anti-growth. We understand that Cohasset grows and changes, but there are a lot of arguments about how we manage growth and how big do we want to be, and what kind of a town do we want to be like. We feel like this legislation that we're proposing puts those kind of decisions in the hands of the town and the citizens, as opposed to right now, because everything is quite lax, it's whoever wants to make a profit on the town that's really making that decision about how it's going to be built up, how things are going to change.
Right, as Lisey said, the developers are making those decisions, not the town, not the citizens. So what you see now will probably be changed in 2 years if we don't put in these bylaws now. There were groups before us that tried. 12 years ago, they made these points before. Some of their bylaws went through, others did not. And some of those bylaws were about ledge. And now there are streets that have been blasted, and there are homes on it, and they're lovely homes, but boy, there is no ledge anymore. And that's what Cohasset is known for, ledge.
That's what makes us look different from everywhere around here. We're really, the rock ledge is really special, and it's beautiful, and I think in the past, the town planners thought the topography here is so difficult to build on, we don't really need to have lots of legislation. Well, things have changed now, and there are a lot more, technology has changed, so it's a lot easier to build on places that you used to not be able to build. So that's another reason why this is so important to do now.
Now, has the implementation of the sewer system at all changed the ability of people to?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. It might be the #1 thing that changed things. I mean, I'm not sure if that's true or not, but absolutely. It used to be that you needed to be able to have a septic system, and lots, because of the ledge, lots of places you couldn't. Now with town sewer, there is the potential for tons more places to be built that were thought to be safe from development before, that thought they were going to be always sort of pristine rocks and woods, and that's not true anymore.
Right, before you'd had to blast the ledge, and no one could do that to put in a septic system. Now you just have a pipe just goes down the hill or around over the ledge, and just takes everything away. So it's very easy to build. It is.
Okay, now do you guys, on the political side, do you see this passing the town meeting easily, with difficulty?
We're very optimistic.
It's hard to know. We feel optimistic. We certainly feel like, boy, we've heard from so many people that they're, everything that we've sort of done to try to get awareness for the cause. We've been inundated with people saying, oh, how can I help? I've been so worried about this, I want to get involved. So we feel pretty optimistic, but again, we need people to come on May 1st to the town meeting.
Right, we have, as Lisey said, we had a Facebook page, we have an Instagram page, we have another page where people can send in their comments as well, and they can do that privately.
For those watching at home, we'll be putting them up like right here.
Fantastic.
Good.
We're so thankful for that.
Yeah.
And they even write in on our website too. So there's 4 locations where people have been sending in their comments, and it's very impressive. And then on top of that, we've been going around the community and speaking with individual groups. And just yesterday I spoke with a group, and I was taken back by how much anger there was. And these citizens have lived here for 20 to 40 years, and they were disappointed not by growth at all, but by the building and construction and the leveling of different lots as well. It was very similar to what we're doing, and they were amazed that we are present in doing that and making these recommendations.
So for those of you who feel passionate, or for those who feel passionate about this issue, what's your number one recommendation for them to do?
Well, I think they can go to cohassetcitizen.org and sign up to get information from us, to learn more information, see a lot more specifics about the different things that we're proposing, and then spread the word with their friends and neighbors in town about the fact that this really is the most important environmental legislation that's come up for a vote in Cohasset ever. Right. And then go on May 1st to the town meeting, and keep in mind that sometimes town meetings, we don't know what to expect, but sometimes town meetings do run long, so sometimes there's even a second night, so May 1st and 2nd. So we want people to kind of reserve that on their calendars and go to the town meeting, because it's where that's how you vote. There's no other way to vote. Right. That's how they'll get their voice heard on this.
It's different than a presidential campaign. You don't write in, go to the town hall. You actually have to sit in the middle high school in Cohasset, and when our bylaws come up, you have to raise your hand or go yay or nay.
Yay or nay.
Yes, and you're welcome to ask questions, but there's a better way probably to ask questions and just learn. And we have an event coming up at the workstation in Cohasset on Cardinal Cushing Highway. Cardinal, I think that's it.
Chief Justice.
Yeah,
Chief Justice Cardinal Cushing Highway, 132 it is. And that's on April 12th at 7 p.m.
We're going to answer people's questions, find out what they think, and hopefully have more concrete information for people so they really can make an informed choice.
There's a second event that you can also attend if you're really passionate about this and you want to let the planning board know that these 3 bylaws all have to go through. And that's also on April 12th, and that's at the town hall.
Yeah.
So there's 2 things. One, you can go ask questions, learn more. The other one is if you already know that this is these are important issues, which they are, and the most important environmental issues to come before Cohasset, then you have to tell the planning board, and that's that night.
And keep in mind, Earth Day is coming up, so if you want to do something, this is a chance where people can actually really affect something locally. It can really make a change for the future here.
Well, cool. Do you have anything else to add?
No, we're just thankful for you to have us, and please vote.
Yeah. Spread the word to your friends and vote on May 1st.
Well, thanks for coming on our show. It's been a pleasure having you guys.
Thank you.
And thanks for those of you who are watching. Thanks for tuning in. And we will see you all soon. Thanks.